You're such an asshole.
How you kids doing? Friday afternoon, Cappy. And then Cappy's gonna go and hike a mountain. He's gonna go shoot some guns. Because he can. Because he is self-employed and didn't incur any debt. This is from Slade Rides. What would the economic impact if every person in a given country was banned from having more than 2 kids? I personally think banning people from having more than 2 kids is an excellent idea, not just because it's a financial blessing for the family and taxpayer, but also for the mother's health, since having more children drastically increases heart attack and Alzheimer's risk. I don't know, you got to cite me the study. The older the father when he has kids, the more mistakes are passed through his sperm, resulting in increased risk of genetic disorders. There's literally no advantage to having 3 or more kids. Combined with closed borders and threat of legal punishment, including steep fines, we would see a considerable drop in population, possibly the elimination of a need for a welfare state, which primarily Let's stop right here. The welfare state does not exist for poor people. It exists for 2 other groups of people. One, touchy-feely, emotional, psychological hypocrites that like to take other people's money so they can feel better about themselves, like social justice warriors, disproportionately women, and a bunch of parasitic do-gooders who want to do good, but they don't want to use their own money. They'd rather vote for others. So that's basically the emotional masturbation group. They want to feel good about themselves because they voted to take other people's money and pay for other people. And then it is for those who are employed by the welfare state so that they have jobs. It is not for people on welfare, because if it was, they'd be way better off. So let's stop there. Yeah, and as long as you're in a democracy, you're never getting rid of the welfare state. It'll be there forever. Because people want to feel good. I might feel good about myself. Oh, look at a good little person I am. Which primarily consists of single moms and parents who had kids they couldn't afford. It's hard to imagine most sane and logical adults with an IQ of 100 wanting a 3rd child anyway. What do you think? Should a country ban all of its citizens from having more than 2 kids? So, I don't think, from a libertarian perspective, I don't think you should ban it. People should be able to have as many kids as they can possibly afford. But old Captain is going to go anti-libertarian and say that if you can't prove financially you can support a kid, you're not ostracized. What's the word? You're sterilized. After 2, you're sterilized. Done. DUN. Collect a government check. You don't get to breed. And we'll get to that later. All right. So let's talk about the economic effects. What would happen in general? There's the population of a country doesn't matter as long as everyone's supporting themselves. What we freak out about today is because these socialists, and that's what they are, going back all the way to FDR, have built a Ponzi scheme where we need more kids in the future to pay for the parasites. I mean the baby boomers and old people's self-voted in Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, and other very social pensions other countries have today. And so you essentially have a quasi-slave class, and that's what it is. And I know you immigrants just can't wait to come here, but there's an ulterior motive why they want you here, and that's so that you can work more to pay for basically my Social Security, my welfare, or not welfare, my nursing home, my orderly to come in and wipe old Cappy's ass when he's 85 and not with it anymore. So since we have these social pensions, Social Security and Medicaid, we need to transfer wealth from one generation to the other. If the population does not grow, this social pension pyramid scheme goes into more deficits than it was before. It's even more underfunded than it currently is today. And people, they freak the fuck out about this. Democrats, oh my God, and forget that it's a parasitic system and unfair to perpetually always the future generations. They don't think about it. They're just worried that there's not going to be enough young person's blood to feed the vampire old people. What they fail to realize is that there's inheritance. Old people can't take it with them, and young people, young generations, will inherit everything. Inevitably, because everybody dies, so younger generations are going to inherit all the economic wealth, all the economic capital, all the productive assets of the country. The hell? How did I get that? What is that? God almighty. string of grapefruit. So people, if there's less kids, that means on a per capita basis, there's more inheritance, generationally speaking. If you want to make then these social pension promises whole, what's going to happen is you're going to have an inordinate wealth tax, specifically an estate tax. We're like, oh my God, we can't pay for Social Security. Well, yes, you can, because now, for example, take your average baby boomer that has 5 houses, 2 in Vegas, 1 in Florida, and then a cabin, and they have all this wealth. It will be passed on to fewer people. And these people are like, yay, my inheritance. But then it's like, oh, sorry, we got to tax you for that because there's not enough people for all the social pension programs. So we're going to tax it, but then give it to you again in the form of a funded Social Security check. So you're basically going to be taxed at the estate, the inheritance tax, or wealth tax, to simply have it given back to you in the form of Social Security. Of course, government workers will be taking their 40% cut of it because we care so much about the children. So that's what would happen is estate taxes, inheritance taxes would go up, wealth taxes would go up or be instituted, but then you would have a funded Social Security. But in general, economically, assuming we didn't have a pyramid scheme retirement system, there's nothing bad. You're concerned, everyone is, God, it's so stupid, it's so lowbrow. Everyone's concerned about the nominal GDP figures, when that is not what matters. It is GDP per capita, wealth production per capita, per person that matters. So that would be neutral, assuming future generations are as productive as previous generations and your standard economic growth and advances in technology. So per capita GDP, or income per capita, would continue to grow at rates that technology and work ethic allow us to. Now, there is one thing when you bring up the welfare. If you did limit people to 2 children per couple or per person, because why get married anymore now? That would bring about wealth for the productive members of society, because 2 groups of people breed, and sometimes they Venn diagram more than other groups of people. The stupid and the stupid and the poor, the stupid and the poor, and there's some correlation between the two. Since they breed more, they are disproportionately producing more children and more of a burden upon the welfare system. If you limit it to 2 people per person, that is going to really cut into demand on 2 things. One, the welfare state, and that just doesn't include welfare. That begins EBT, WIC, BIC, SLIC, MIC, DIC, and SLIC. All those government programs would be heavily, probably 80% of that would be cut. So the welfare state would be drastically cut, as would the education system. So your property taxes would go down, your welfare will go down, because you're basically limiting the parasitic and poor class from producing more parasites, essentially. That isn't to say if you're poor, every kid you have will go on to become a parasite. That's not the case always. But disproportionately, it correlates, that's what it is. So over time, you'd have a shrinking. I mean, it wouldn't be perpetually shrinking. It would get to a base level. But compared to today, yes, you would definitely have a shrinking parasitic class, a shrinking poverty class, and you would not have an increasing middle income or wealthy class, because they've always not had that many children. So, but the ratio between producers and parasites, or parasites and producers, would go down. And so our overall tax rate would go down as well. I'd even say that you'd have, well, you can't even say that, because I know it sounds derogatory to say the producer and parasitic class, but the producer class, they tend to produce parasites as well, in the form of your prissy liberal white suburbanite social justice war types who are not producers. So their parents generate enough income that net they're not parasites, but you're not going to have this return to hard, industrious 1950s America, because what caused industrious 1950s America was the hell of the Great Depression and World War II. You had much better, more productive, more superior, hardworking, more intelligent, industrious people. Without hard times, you're going to have what we have today, perpetually weak and soft and unproductive people, regardless of class, regardless of producer class, parasite class, rich or poor. We just have soft fucking losers right now. But in general, limiting people to 2 people per children would definitely, I'd say, lower the welfare state by about 80% over time. Combined, what do you think? Should citizens ban all of its citizens from having more? All right, now we get into the political thing. If you started banning people from having more than 2 kids, women and feminists would freak the fuck out because it's productive rights. It's childbirthing rights. And you are right that if we did, there's some correlation that if we limited people to having 2 kids, there'd be health benefits, mental and physical. There'd be financial benefits to both the parents and the children, I believe. I'm not sure about where you got your studies about. Yeah, really, women have more than 3 kids, it causes Alzheimer's. And well, we don't know that until you were going to show me it. But I'm saying if you limited the financial burden to everyone having 2 kids, you'd have much more stable families, assuming men ever grew a pair of balls and actually became fathers once again. And you had the picturesque nuclear family where there was both a mother and father in the home, stuff like that. But politically, philosophically, imposing a 2-child limit per person would freak feminists out because ultimately their power comes through their vagina, and granting access to people like that, granting access to society for that. And they just really, I mean, they want to have abortion on demand. They want to spit out as many kids on it. They want to have in vitro. I mean, it is all about the hoo-ha for the feminists. And since having children is related to the hoo-ha, they are going to be livid. As a policy matter, as long as if you can afford 16 kids without collecting a government check, fine. The second you do, you're sterilized as far as I'm concerned. So that is out of respect for the taxpayers. I know, and we revisit the left in general, but in this particular case, feminists want unlimited rights with zero responsibility. I like to introduce responsibility. You want the taxpayer to pay for your kid you can't afford? I guess you're not going to have any more kids. You are sterilized. Oh, I know, but this is academic. You asked me what I think. This isn't going to happen. Because once again, women control the hoo-ha. And even though it would be vital and necessary, men today are such cucks or outright socialist pussies, and they worship the hoo-ha, they'll tell women whatever they want to hear, so they don't get yelled at if they're married, so they might get laid. Wifey might give you sex on Christmas and your birthday, boys. And there's just too much ensconced, established, entrenched feminist political power, numbers, incentive, motivation, that if you start talking about sterilization, they're not going to do it. That's, oh my God, that's a violation of human rights. It's like, all right, let's just keep on going. So soon, like, Somalia or Ethiopia or, was it Chad, I think, we're all living off of $600 a year, but that's it. And also, I would say that if you have beyond 2 kids, like the government, okay, we'll pay the public education for the 2 kids. You have a 3rd or a 4th, and you can afford it, you're paying extra taxes. You want to bring children into this world, you're paying the extra taxes to educate them. Because once again, we all want to view the rights of women and the rights of birthing and the rights. It's like, what about the rights of the taxpayer who have to now literally slave away more to give you your gimme dats? So you could spread your legs and have kids you can't afford because you're an unreliable piece of shit. No one talks about slavery. Yeah, we fought a war to ban slavery, except now it's okay because it's removed and it's not an act. They're not actually chained. They're just like, well, we're going to tax you, and if you don't pay these taxes, then we're going to throw you in jail. It's a plantation. You guys don't realize what a plantation it is. And if you're working and paying taxes, you're a slave to a certain extent to people who have more kids than they should. So that's it. All right, questions, answers, AnswerConsulting.com. Check out all the links below. There's links to the podcast. There's links to the books. There's links to donation thingies. There's links to my Amazon affiliate site. If you need to do any Amazon shopping now, go down there below, click on that, buy that crap. Oh my God, I got to buy something. Oh, we really ought to get more toilet paper. Go down to the link below. All right, we'll see you guys later. Toodles.